We lost the kid in a hotel for about 2.5 hours. When did a game of hide and seek go horribly wrong? I thought I would be clever and hide underneath an abandoned vehicle in somebody's yard. It was covered with hornets' nests underneath. I was the first one found, got 63 stings. The fuckers chased me for a block, just like in a cartoon, cloud of bees behind me. When I was younger, like about 3 or so, my great-grandmother was watching my younger brother, some cousins, and me. She decided to hide and seek was a great idea since we all were not able to open any doors without her help. Well, I found this perfect spot tucked between the wall and a couch with a small coffee table between the arm of the couch and that wall. So I got under the coffee table. Well, I got too comfy and I fell asleep. Back then I was a hard sleeper. My great-grandma gets so worried that I somehow got out of the house when I wouldn't respond to her calling out for me. She called the cops. The fire department shows up first and starts asking her questions about what happened and all the basics. They decided to do a quick sweep of the house and make sure. Well, one of the firemen seen a little shadow move under the coffee table, me, and asked if my grams had a dog. She didn't. So the search was over, and my grams never wanted to play hide and seek again with me. And that, kids, is how I earned the nickname Heidi. We had just recently moved into our neighborhood and my sister, 5 at the time, was playing hide and seek with a neighbor kid. Long story short, the kid couldn't find her. All the adults started going around the neighborhood shouting for her. It was getting dark. After a while my parents called the police. Someone eventually found her and she said she did hear everyone looking for her, but she was playing hide and seek, so she wasn't coming out until someone found her. Parents called the police back and told them not to come. That's how we met most of our neighbors. Before I was born, my brothers and sisters played a game at my aunt's house down by the river. My eldest brother decided to hang by his fingertips inside the water well. Meanwhile, and unknowing of that fact, my other brother thought about hiding up inside the little steeple cover of the well, and to get to it needed to slam shut the well cover. Lamau. Slam, blood-curdling screams, splash, cries for help. Between fits of unadulterated anger interspersed with disbelief and worry, my aunt, grandmother and mom managed to get him pulled up, which wasn't easy because with all of those smashed fingers of his he couldn't hold tight to a rope. I was a waiter and some kids from a party I was serving played hide and seek, and about 5 minutes later they had to come back because the chef came to cook. Teppanyaki restaurant. There were 2 guardians looking after the children, and one of them realized that a child was missing and freaked out. It was like a mini manhunt in the restaurant. This was all done by the guardians since they didn't tell anyone. I just overheard them and decided to watch what they would do. After about 5 to 10 minutes of searching, the girl comes out crying. They forgot about me. She was in the bathroom the whole time and she was quiet when they called for her because she thought they were still playing. When I was a kid, my 2 older brothers would always make me be it. One time they both hid in a trunk full of clothes. I was probably 6 or 7. So I decided to lock them in. Only I didn't have a key. They panicked like crazy and were having trouble breathing. The babysitter was going crazy. I think she broke the lock eventually. But it was some scary moments. I was playing hide and seek at my grandma's house and decided to hide in the toy chest in her den. My uncle, who was it, sat on it and trapped me in there for hours. I literally screamed until I passed out. He's still an irredeemably evil piece of shit. From the great British actor David Niven's Wikipedia page. While on leave in 1940, Niven met Primula Primi Susan Rollo, February 18, 1918, London, May 21, 1946. Primi died at the age of 28, only 6 weeks after the family moved to the U.S. She fractured her skull in an accidental fall in the Beverly Hills, California home of Tyrone Power while playing a game of hide and seek. She had walked through a door believing it to be a closet, but instead, it led to a stone staircase to the basement. So when I was a wee kid and a scout, we played hide and seek in the dark. We usually played something like this every time the last 15 minutes. It was a medium-sized cabin, essentially. There were a lot of places to hide, lots of stuff just lying around. For some reason, there was a coffin there and nobody, as far as I know, ever hid inside. Because it's a coffin, and that's just creepy. But my smartass hid inside it. Unlucky for me, another kid also looking for a hiding spot saw me. He decided to lock the coffin I was inside of. Yeah, I had claustrophobia for quite a while afterward. Was playing hide and seek with 2 friends when we were like 10. Me and my friend found a fantastic spot and hid there together, and our other friend couldn't find us. I ended up going home to get his mom so she could tell us to come out and yell at us for hiding too well. Yes, this actually did happen. When I was about 8 years old, my little brother, who was 6 at the time, and my little sister, who was 3 years old, were playing some type of easy hide and seek in my grandparents' backyard. Well, there are woods behind their house. Our sister, being a defiant toddler, ran into the woods, and my brother just saw her run in and ran in after her. They were in the woods for hours because she ran in so deep, and they both got turned around. Our brother found a hunting post, climbed up it into the tree, and found a way out. They then knocked on doors, covered in dirt and scratched up, until someone answered. A woman gave them a ride back because our brother was able to point out landmarks to get back to our grandmother's house. They got back while my mother was on the phone with the cops. They were discussing a helicopter to find them. We were this close to a search party. They walked a collective 2 to 3 miles. They could have gone miles deeper into rural woods if they didn't keep going one way and find the post. So yeah, watch your damn kids, lol. Telling them don't go into the woods does not guarantee they will listen. My grandma was Jewish, and she was playing hide and seek with her brother as kids. She hid well and was very happy, the thrill of excitement from finding the perfect spot. Nobody would find her there. Then, out of nowhere, a group of Nazi soldiers break into the house. My grandma told me this story, and at this point, she starts crying. She told me she couldn't see anything, but she could hear the screams of her own family as they were carried away. Her mother, her father, her brother, and her sister were all taken that, and she never saw them again. She was left alone in this world. It had truly traumatized her to this day, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. I was and still am horrified at this story. She was lucky to be alive. Hope you're at peace now, Grandma. Rest in peace. I managed to send an entire store on lockdown and freak out my entire family when I was maybe 5 years old. My family was at Lowe's, and I decided to take my Kirby plushie with me and hide behind some shelves or boxes and see if they could find me. Turns out they couldn't, and ran around outside because they thought someone kidnapped me. The entire store went on lockdown for a missing child, all the while I'm sitting, giggling and waiting for them to find me. I eventually came out of hiding after my mom passed me, and got in huge trouble afterward. I never hid in public again as a kid. I was a member of my university's hide and seek club, and at one point the police were called. However, we had proper signage up, so the police warned us to stay out of a part of the building as they were looking for a suspicious person. What neither the police nor we had figured out yet was that we were the suspicious figure that had been reported. My 10-year birthday party. My friends and I played hide and seek Caterpillar Edition. We put sleeping bags over us and wandered around in the dark to find each other. One of my friends lunges to tag another friend, fell and went top head straight into her face. Knocked out 2 adult teeth and broke her nose. Blood everywhere. She had to go and get surgery. Her parents threatened to sue my parents but eventually got over it. She was never allowed to come to my house again. Was playing hide and seek by a river while going camping. It was kind of dark out. I went to hide in some bushes near the river. Went to step into the bushes and it was a steep drop off into the river. I got completely soaked above my knees. It took them a while to find me though. My friend hid in the drawer under my bed. I found her and pulled the drawer out. When she moved forward to climb out, it tipped and the edge landed on my big toe. Fast forward 6 hours and I'm in A&E having a hot needle jammed into my toenail to release the pressure of the blood that had built up behind the nail. Yes, it did spurt blood. But, my toenail fell off a week or 2 later, which was pretty cool. We were about 8 years old. Oh, I have a good one. Didn't happen to me, but a friend of mine, but I was in that game of hide and seek. Here I go. When I was 8, I was at a birthday party of my neighbor's daughter. We had mutual friends, and one of them, let's call him Toby, wasn't really the brightest, we all weren't, but he took the cake, like eating a dead wasp once and then wondering why his mouth was swollen. Anyway, the daughter then all challenged us to a game of hide and seek. For context, they lived on a farm which wasn't the smallest, so there was plenty of space to hide, but to not draw this game too lengthy. We all agreed to only hide in the barn and on the main plot, and not the meadow behind it. It only took the daughter about 15 minutes to find me and the other kids invited to the party, except for said, Mr. Darkhead Toby. After about half an hour of searching for him, we started to get concerned. By this time, it was about 5:30 p.m. and we were all getting ready to go home, but Toby was nowhere to be found. Our parents agreed to let us stay until 7 p.m., hoping that he was found till then. After Toby wasn't found, Toby's parents called the cops and a search squad was sent out. Still no sign of him, the cops gave up. The next morning, I woke up to my parents telling me, in a tone of relief, that Toby was found. Apparently what happened was that Toby somewhat got lost on a said meadow and was only found 8 hours later standing on the side of a road that was 4 miles away, with his shorts and t-shirt all ripped and damaged. He was only found after a relative spotted him with his headlights. Oh, did I mention that Toby was new to the area and didn't know where what was? We are still friends to this day, 18 years later, and whenever we are drunk or really bored, we bring this story up and just laugh our guts out about it. About him not being very bright, yeah, he now has his master's degree in mechanical engineering. So glad this story ended well, or else my life would be different now. We lost the kid in a hotel for about 2.5 hours and his mum was freaking out, getting the staff to look for him and threatening to call the police. Just to find out that the kid was hiding behind a stack of chairs under a staircase. A bunch of my friends and I were playing in their apartment building one time and they literally all forgot about me and went to go get food without me. I spent like 2 hours hiding after the game was already over. Even though I technically won, it still felt pretty shitty to be forgotten. I hid in a tree in the park from my dad. Big park, right in the city. I was up there for about 2 hours, he passed under me several times getting increasingly panicked and I was like I'm not falling for that one. Eventually, I got bored and got down, apparently right before he called the police. It wasn't horrible for me, but he was really terrified. I was about 5 years old playing hide and seek with my brother and sister. It was supposed to be inside only, but apparently, I was a little cheat. I snuck outside and climbed into the backseat of my mom's car and fell asleep. Hours later my parents are freaking out, calling people to help look for me and screaming my name. I wake up and hear my name being called, panic scrambling out of the car and slam the door on my finger. It's still stuck bent at a weird angle to this day. I was about 7 years old, and we were playing in the dark at grandma's house. I don't remember the exact reason, but I popped into the game a little late and was waiting on my brother or cousin to come rushing around the house, and I was set to beat them back to base. As they came running around the corner, I turned and started to run. I didn't pay attention to where I was and tripped on the wire supporting a newly planted tree. I fell to the ground, my wrist landing on a rock. I didn't know exactly what happened, but I do know it hurt. Badly. Run to mom and dad, bawling my eyes out. Dad took one look and knew what happened, so off to the hospital we went. Into the emergency room, and dad tells the admissions nurse, "We need to see a doctor, my son broke his arm." She got a little huffy, and says back something along the lines of "What makes you so sure?" Then dad lifted the damp towel that was covering my arm, and it was immediately apparent. She just started repeating "Oh my God." And dad had to calm her down so I wouldn't start freaking out again. I don't know how much more force it would have taken, but it was a radial fracture of the 2 bones in my forearm, nearly compounded. I still remember seeing a couple of bumps on my arm, but not much else. One day I was playing hide and seek with my friends and hid in the trailer of a tractor. When coming out I fell and I guess I hit my chest or something. But for a good, while I lost my voice, couldn't even cry. I was 2 at a time and me and my 4-year-old brother decided to include my 4-month-old sister in the game of hide and seek. Me being very smart decided to hide in the bathroom with my baby sister and I thought it was a good idea to put her in the toilet since she was small enough to fit in there. After a minute or two, I hear a splash. I ran over to the toilet to see my sister's head in the water. I thought she was just playing so I left her there. Then my brother came and saw her, he quickly pulled her out before she drowned. We never played again. But when I was younger, like about 3 or so, my great-grandmother was watching my younger brother, some cousins, and me. She decided to hide and seek was a great idea since we all weren't able to open any doors without her help. Well, I found this perfect spot tucked between the wall and a couch with a small coffee table between the arm of the couch and that wall. So I got under the coffee table. Well, I got too comfy and I fell asleep. Back then I was a hard sleeper. My great-grandma gets so worried that I somehow got out of the house when I wouldn't respond to her calling out for me. She called the cops. The fire department shows up first and starts asking her questions about what happened and all the basics. They decided to do a quick sweep of the house and make sure. Well, one of the firemen seen a little shadow move under the coffee table, me, and asked if my grams had a dog. She didn't. So the search was over, and my grams never wanted to play hide and seek again with me. And that, kids, is how I earned the nickname Heidi. Recycling bins in our local district used to simply be 80-liter containers. They looked like baby baths. My little sister was somewhat hit and miss with the game. She was either found first within the first 30 seconds of the game, or everyone would be out looking for her for most of the afternoon. She hatched a plan to hide under one of these containers that had been lying in the yard for weeks and figured no one would have a chance to find her. The bins were black plastic, so no way to see inside of them. Suddenly, as I started to search, she jumped out screaming in pain. Little did she know that a small family of bees were waiting for her. Me and two others were playing hide and seek. Me and the other guy was going to hide. He climbed up a tree, which I helped him up to, and then I went to go hide myself. As I was running away, I heard an and I turned around to see that he had fallen out of the tree and slid his back on the bark. Me and the guy who was seeking rushed over to help him. I think I have a recording, so I'll have to find it. My sister and mother were playing hide and seek when I was young. Sister was about 5, I was about 11. She grabbed me and said she couldn't find Mom anywhere and asked that I go with her into the bathroom to find her, handing me a torch. I rounded one corner before entering the shower room. Cue my mom hiding in the shower as I shine the torch onto her face and she loudly shhhhs me, and I freaked the hell out and run out. I haven't participated in hide and seek since. When I was 5, my friends and I were playing hide and seek in the woods behind our houses. I sharded and ran home to change. Of course, I never told my friends why I left. They just never found me and thought I was still hiding. I saw them the next day and they were amazed by my hiding abilities, but really I was just at home watching Ninja Turtles in a clean pair of underwear. Played in the basement as a kid. It separated into a bunch of rooms and pretty big. I went hauling ass into one of the rooms, hit a pole and knocked myself out. I was playing outside at night at Boy Scout camp and saw the kid who was IT coming my way. So I hauled ass in the other direction. Slammed into another kid full tilt. And knocked myself out. Knocked us both out actually. My eye was the size of a tennis ball. Mom flipped her shit when I got home. I was probably like 12 or 13. And because I was the youngest, my friends would always make me seek. I was counting while leaning on someone's fence. Keep in mind that this was happening in the countryside, in a small village where people know each other. So leaning on someone's fence and playing hide and seek is completely normal. While counting, I could hear my friends yelling. Flav ruin. Run. Behind you. Run. Flav run. Of course, I ignored them. They used to trick me like this all the time. They would make me look just so I start counting again from 0. Meanwhile, I was thinking, haha, you're not tricking me this time, losers. The next thing I know, a friend grabs my hand, pulls me like crazy and yells run. When I looked behind me, there was a drunk man, pointing his gun at me. Apparently, this girl at first ran away, but then she came back to pull me. I don't think the idiot was actually going to shoot me. I think he just wanted to scare all of us because we were loud. But still, that girl was extremely courageous. I hid in a dark room and was greeted by a Great Dane, which immediately proceeded to attack me by biting my upper thigh until my friend's brother wrestled him away. 27 stitches later. That's my story. When I was a little kid, I was playing hide and seek with my class. I hid, and everyone forgot about me, and couldn't find me, so I didn't know we were going inside. I stayed it out for almost another hour, before going inside, wondering where everyone was. No one noticed. One time in June, me and my younger sister, we were around 5 and 10, decided to play hide and seek. Anyway, I was the seeker whilst my sister, let's call her M, went to hide. I looked everywhere and told my mom that she wasn't coming out after I said that I had given up and you win, so it was a search party for this small girl with everyone in the house. As the garden was pretty large and filled with trees, I decided to look there, and as she was little I thought M might have fallen asleep. My grandparents and my mom got worried and dialed 999, emergency services in the UK, And they came to the house and asked what she was seen last in, and they even said they'd release the chopper. So anyway, she was found behind the door in the study and learned a good lesson. I and sister played hide and seek. She was found by cops behind a door, hid in a small cupboard when I was a kid, and it was a sweltering 29 degrees Celsius, 84.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Stayed there, which felt like 2 days, probably an hour or two, sweat just stinging my eyes, neck hurting as I was in a somewhat upside fetal position, and like a determined idiot that I have stayed there till I felt dizzy. I could still remember that it went very cold because the sweat on my skin just went sticky. Not remembering anything that happened after, I just woke up on my bed with a wet soppy hand towel on my forehead with a headache. Thank you for watching Reddit Space. Please subscribe if you love these Reddit stories.